Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sandra Lanch podcast. Today, we are talking about two chapters of Oathbringer. That's chapters 10 and 11, wherein Kaladin does some searching for Voidbringers, which I guess we already knew that was going to happen. We find out a little bit more about Renarin's abilities towards the end of that chapter, and then we get a flashback of Dalinar and the day that he won his shard blade, which is pretty interesting. I'm Data, and with me today is
Jack
and JD.
Yeah, no Joe this week. He's got stuff going on, but he said he might send in something with his thoughts, so we'll see if that happens. If you don't hear him at some point during this episode, I guess it didn't happen. But anyway, let's do this. Hang on to something, everybody. The Sandra Lanch is about to begin.
Yearnings intertwined, the golden age in ashes once again. Under stirring stars, in the burning shards, kindle fragments of the falling rain. So look to the break of dawn, to the break of dawn. Stronger together now.
So yeah, two chapters this time. What did you guys think of these two chapters?
Oh, pretty good. I mean, Kaladin. I feel like we're shifting perspectives in the midst of chapters a lot more than we used to. Like, especially in the early stages. And we started, this is a Kaladin chapter, and then halfway through it's like, nope, Adolin. Okay.
True.
Which isn't a bad thing, but it's definitely a bit different to the previous two books. I like the fact that we seem to be getting more focus on Renarin this time around. Poor boy has had not a lot of focus in the past couple of books. So right out the gate, we seem to be really getting more of him, which is good. And Dalinar flashback was a nice bit of action. Yeah, really solid fight scene. Just really cementing young Dalinar, not the best dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, solid chapters, really fun. And set up stage, obviously, but good foundations to build on.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that this one wasn't going to improve anyone's opinion of young Dalinar, given where this flashback goes. So, very, very different fellow back then.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you guys. I don't particularly like young Dalinar. I hope that we're kind of starting to see. I mean, I feel like we're going to see that evolution in this book. I hope so. Anyway, and there's already a bit of. I guess we're starting to see Gavilar's change of opinion now, which is good, which we know is going to lead to events that put Dalinar on his path. So yeah, we've probably still got a bit of unlikable Dalinar. I don't like Dalinar and Sadeas being the two best friends that anyone could have. This doesn't make me happy because Sadeas is so awful, but it was good to see a bit of his chapter and perspective. No, flashback is the word I'm looking for. My heart broke a little bit at the end when there was the little boy. It's like he's finally lost the shard blade, and I was like, oh, Dalinar, this is awful. And I know times of war make people do awful things and stuff, but yeah, that was pretty sad to read about. Going back to the start of what we've read, I'm quite interested in what's going on with the Parshmen who are transforming. It's really interesting that they're not wreaking the havoc. So I think I said, I don't know if it was at the end of last book or earlier in this book, I don't think we're going to see exactly what they're up to in the immediate future. I think we've got a ways to go there. Clearly they're not intent on just killing the Alethi or anything like that, because they're not doing that. They're presumably coming together and regrouping now, but raiding villages for food and stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's definitely going to cause some havoc, but it's not going to be an immediate threat to the people. It does terrify me for what they're actually going to possibly end up doing, but we'll see. There's a lot of story to unfold in that regard. First up, I did enjoy the disappointment that he wasn't doing 2-for-1 spheres anymore. People have got word and are starting to welcome him warmly, and they're not making anything out of it. So except for potential, I guess they don't see the true hazard yet of what's going on. They're just like, oh, this storm came the wrong way, and then the parchment went crazy, and cool. But thank God that's over. So we're not quite there with those guys yet. The Adolin and Renarin stuff, I did like that. It always reminds me a little bit of Kaladin and Tien. So like I kind of get a nice feeling when you read those chapters. I feel like a lot of what's going on with Renarin, we're just going to find out by chance. He's like, oh, I'm just going to give away my sharp blade because I don't need it anymore. Okay. When were you going to tell people you've got a sharp blade? That was cool. There's some fun interactions with Kaladin and Syl this time as well. That I don't know that anyone had really thought of the depth of their relationship and what that would mean. She was around for. So that was a little bit funny, a bit humorous. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was clearly we found Dalinar stumbling across the gate to Urithiru. So that's pretty cool. We know where another one of these actually is on page now. So I imagine Dalinar is going to remember something at some point in the book about where this is, and maybe that will be significant later on. Because they were listing off a whole bunch. I don't know if they listed off this one.
Okay.
But
yeah, I don't remember if we'd have to look at the list again, but I feel like they listed off all 10 that they feel like they knew of. I don't remember for sure. Also,
yes.
So I like the point about like when you're going to tell someone you have a shard blade, because in the last set of chapters we read Shallan being like, I'm the only one with a shard blade that can work this thing, and it's turning into this big hassle for me. And Renarin's like, yeah, I got one of those.
Yeah, so it turns out I've done it. And long enough ago that I've already felt comfortable to give my shard blade away. So, yeah, on your Renarin.
I mean, it's Renarin. He's probably doing it very open and publicly, and Shallan just completely missed it because she just has a blind spot in his shape.
She's just like, that guy's weird.
Weirdo.
Also, it was funny, the thing about Syl and Kaladin, because we definitely weren't expecting that stuff. Their relationship is going to be weirder than he even imagined, clearly. But you had a really good point about the Voidbringers don't just seem to be out to kill everyone. In fact, they seem to be kind of going out of their way to not kill people. Like even when they raided that place for food, they didn't kill the guy. They like thumped him real good, but he's not dead. So what are they up to?
Who knows?
So yes, I think that'll be an interesting thing going forward. That's what Kaladin is trying to find out, what they're up to. So presumably we'll get an idea at some point.
One day we'll find out.
Hopefully, if we didn't find out in 5 books, that would be unfortunate.
We'll find out in like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, maybe. Oh man. Okay, let's move into these 2 chapters. We only get 1 epigraph this week, and it's a pretty short one. Perhaps my heresy stretches back to those days in my childhood where these ideas began. All right. That doesn't really tell us anything. We already knew that whoever's writing it is a heretic, supposedly. So
I'm going about it completely the wrong way, but for me, it's Yasna until I'm proved otherwise.
That's fair. She's the person the word heretic has been associated with most in these books so far. So I don't think that's like, as a starting place, I think that's logical.
Yeah, it won't be Yasna in the end, I'm sure. But at the moment, if it fits.
Brandon can't possibly make it the easy answer, right?
It's going to shock us all, but it turns out to be Teft.
It's
going to be Renarin.
It's pattern. Yeah. That's who it is.
The real tip-off will be the epigraph comes. It's like, some called me heretic. Some called me weirdo. Oh, Renarin.
Some called me creepy.
She's my sister-in-law for one, but
mainly her. But she's got like 2 personalities now.
I also, actually, before we get into it, I also like what Jamie mentioned about like the relationship between Adolin and Renarin, because I feel like it's nice to see this kind of like loving brother relationship. I feel like that's not a thing you get a lot of.
No, honestly, like healthy family relationships in fiction in general, like, obviously unhealthy family dynamics makes for interesting storytelling, but like it's nice to see something healthy every so often. I remember someone getting really upset with the MCU movies because it was like, man, every family dynamic, couples or parents and their kids relationships is like really sour in some way up until of all things, Hank Pym and his wife. And like, of all the couples to make the healthy one, that was a choice.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Not what they are famous for in the comics.
Yep. Yeah.
Scott's relationship with his daughter is pretty good, except for, the whole prison thing.
I mean, it was for the first two movies, and then then the third movie happened, and they just completely changed her character. Anyway,
yeah, I kind of forgot about that now that you say that. Yeah.
I actually didn't hate that movie like most people seem to, but I hated what they did with Cassie. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't hate the movie either. I mean, there's some weird stuff in it. Don't get me wrong. Like MODOK is freaking weird. But anyway, yeah. Let's talk about this book. We start with Kaladin leaping around. He's got Stormlight, but he doesn't want to like use it to just soar because that takes more. So he's kind of jumping. And let's see here. Syl's like, "Oh, you're smiling," and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I should be more solemn. We're chasing down Voidbringers." And she's like, "No, that wasn't. It wasn't supposed to be a bad thing." Which leads to a line I love where he goes, 2 days ago, I found that my mother is still alive, so the position is not, in fact, vacant. You can stop trying to fill it. Their relationship is just such an odd, like we talked about before. Each person seemed to have like a different sort of relationship with their spren, and they're all kind of weird. But yeah, this one is just so strange and hilarious. And so, yeah, he's in a good mood. He found his parents alive. He's got a new little brother. Despite the fact that it's like the end of the world, essentially, and he's running around trying to chase demons or whatever our equivalent would be, things are not as bad as they sometimes are.
Like, he's got his family back. Sadeas is dead. Rashon is somewhat humbled. Like, everything's coming up Millhouse.
He still doesn't know that Sadeas is dead, I don't think. But other than, yeah.
I mean, he can take the win when he finds out about it.
Right. He can just feel it, the vibes that Sadeas is dead and things are looking up.
Yep. Well, it seems brighter somehow.
But he's stopped at a bunch of villages, and all the Parshmen have run off, but he hasn't found any place that they actually attacked. And then they get, like, Syl's like, now we're talking about it, I think I'd be a great mom. And they start talking about, like, spren babies? Like, how does that even work? And Syl goes, yeah, I have no idea. And he's like, well, but the Stormfather called you his daughter, so he birthed you? And she's like, maybe? I think so. Like, helped shape me? And then she's like, yes, he made some of us, made me. And so Kaladin's like, oh, so maybe you could do like that. Find pieces of wind or honor or whatever and shape them. But then he, like, digs at her. He's like, you'd get distracted by an interesting beetle and leave them in a drawer somewhere. She's like, what? I would never leave my babies in a drawer. Way too boring. That's not what you should take away from.
Now, dig up, stupid.
I would only abandon my babies in the most interesting of places. And so he makes it to a village called Horn Hollow, which, all right. And people are already coming out. And he makes Syl a sword. It's I don't know that we've gotten much of a description of her as a sword before. Here we get that it's a sleek, beautiful sword with the symbol of the Windrunners prominent on the center, with grooves in the metal.
Like, so the symbol is on the blade?
Yeah, I guess so. I want to see if there's like a good picture of this online.
Is it on the pommel or something?
I found a picture, but it didn't seem to have the Windrunner symbol on it, so I don't know that that's a great picture.
It's on the back.
Yeah, it's on the other side. It's fine. I like somebody
turn sword over.
Somebody's selling
still
stickers
would be an elegant weapon
of various blades, and so I'll put this in here because I think that we're familiar with most of these at least. Where's our chat? There's our chat. There may be one or two that either you don't remember or haven't heard of before, but I won't. Yeah, I don't even know if these stickers are made like licensed or anything, so they may not be that accurate, but they're still cool looking.
Vito.
Yeah.
Anyway. There are some names there I don't recognize.
Sunraiser, I believe, is Elokar's blade. Sunraiser and Firestorm, I think, are Elokar's blade and his dad's blade that he owns both of at the moment.
Okay. Firestorm looks edgy as shit.
It does, right?
Do the blades have a subtle color to them? Is that actually
I
a
don't
thing?
know that we've heard, except for that when they glow, like Kaladin's, I think glows blue. We know that it glows with some sort of light.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I think there's a color to it. The other ones, I don't. The ones that are, for want of a better word, dead, I don't think necessarily have a color, but I'm not sure. We might be on the lookout for that.
Wendell is there.
Two Wendels. Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets here and he's got his speech already that he's been given as he travels around these cities. But before he can even start talking, a guy's like, "Oh, Lord Radiant," and there's a bunch of people already here, like, to see him and stuff.
The village where they're all happy to see him is where he cuts off his financial, like, 2-for-1 deal. Like, come on, man.
I don't know. He might have started like a village or two back. We don't know.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, you knew that I was coming. I guess you've been in contact with your neighbors." And they're all like, "Yep, here's those glowing spheres that we know you want." And then they're kind of disappointed when they don't get like extra money back. He can't keep trading double. Like, I might have not gone from double to like straight trades right away. Maybe, like a third or something, or a quarter extra. But whatever. And they're like, he's like, "Yeah, I want you to send messages to the nearby towns, carrying words of comfort and command from the king. I'll pay for the time of your runners." And he's like, "Oh, great. Do you want to rest or have a meal or go to the location of the attack?" He's like, wait, there's an attack? Like, he forgot why he was here. I'm like, yeah, isn't that why you're here? And he thinks, finally. Like, I feel like you shouldn't be like vindicated that an attack happened. Like, we don't want that.
That just means like less. All right, has the next village seen anything? Has the next village? At least he's just like, oh, good, I can end this bloody chase.
Yeah, it's true. And so they take him to a grain storage place that has been attacked. And a young and pretty Ardent is giving him information. And he thinks, like, she seems nervous, but it's probably because, like, the Knights Radiant are weird in, like, the religious context. Because they were founded by the Heralds. That's good. But they were also traitors. That's bad. So, like, how do you react to them now as a religious figure? Although I think we find out later maybe that's not why she's nervous. But so 5 eyewitnesses and 4 of them managed to independently count the number of attackers, around 50. So that's a pretty good number. And they took a bunch of grain. And she made a sketch, but unlike Shallan, sketching is not this lady's forte. And he's just like, it looks like a bunch of scribbles in kind of human shapes. Not everybody can be good at art,
They've been a bit spoilt by Shallan's abilities.
Also, these witnesses mentioned red lights, like a lot of little glowy red lights. And he's like, "Oh, like their eyes were glowing red?" And the Arden's like, maybe. If so, then it wasn't all their eyes, because people got a good look at some of their eyes and they were not glowing. Which, that's also interesting, because we know that, like, Stormform at least, they all had glowy red eyes. So maybe it's just not all of the forms that the Voidbringers have. And he's like, "Hey, okay, you did a good job. Thanks for the report." And she gets all like grinning at him. And that's when Syl's like, "Oh, she thinks you're pretty." And I feel like that starts out kind of sweet. And then Syl's like, "Wow, she must be desperate out here. I mean, look at you. Hair hasn't been combed, uniform stained, and that beard."
Geez, Syl, put people down, why don't you?
It's
Right?
a bit far still, but okay.
"I guess when there's nobody around but farmers, your standards really drop," she says. Just wow. And Kaladin's like, "I mean, she's an Ardent. She'd have to marry a different Ardent." And Syl's like, "Yeah, I don't think she was thinking about marrying you, Kaladin. I know you've been busy fighting guys in white clothing and stuff, but I've been doing research. People lock their doors, but there's room that you can like squeeze underneath." And, which, all right. Also, I guess it's kind of interesting that she needs to be able to physically like squeeze into places to get there.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Still, stop spying on people.
Yeah, that's weird. That's real weird.
It must be a Spren thing, because, I mean, we know Patton was spying on people poop, so now Syl is spying on people screw. So
They're just wanting to learn.
God only knows what the Stormfather has been peeking on people doing.
The Stormfather sees all.
Like 2 people are getting it on in the bedroom, all of a sudden it starts raining on them. Like, oh God, what the hell?
Ignore me. Keep doing what you were doing. And she starts talking to Kaladin about what she's seen. He's like, no, I understand what's involved. I know. And she goes, are you sure? We could have the Arden draw you a picture. She seems like she'd be into that. Apparently the picture wouldn't be a very good one. So, And
Worst
she's like,
porn ever.
she's like, look, I just want you to be happy. And people in relationships are happier. To which Kaladin responds, that is demonstrably false. Some maybe, but I know a lot who are not. He's like, what about the Lightweaver? You like her? He's like, she's engaged. She's like, yeah, but you're better than that guy. I don't trust him. Like, yeah, because he has a shard blade. You don't like anyone with a shard blade.
How dare Syl come at Adolin like that?
Like, we like Adolin now. This isn't the Way of Kings anymore.
Yeah, no, we've like Adolin started off kind of like, oh, he's kind of a dope, but like then we got to know him and we learned actually Adolin's good value. So Syl, how dare?
I'm still kind of dope, but like in a good way. And he's just like, she's a light eyes. End of conversation. Which, I mean, you also are now, but just say. And also stop spying on people. That's creepy. Kaladin sides with us on that one. And then he has a moment where he pictures what will happen if he does, get into a relationship with someone. It's like, is still going to be sitting on the headboard shouting out encouragement and advice. Oh, that's a picture.
Kaladin's like, well, that's never happening for me again.
And now I begin my life of celibacy.
Yep.
The Ardentia for me. And even then.
Yeah, because apparently he could marry her if he was an Arden, so. But what he does find out from this city is what direction the Voidbringers are headed. They never deviated. Like, the City Lord had scouts follow them. They never deviated. Headed straight for Kholinar. And Kaladin's like, okay, that's where I'm going. And the trapper/tracker that had followed them, he's like, oh, you want me to lead you to Kholinar, Bright Lord Radiant? And Kaladin's like, no, you just slow me down. And flies off into the sky again.
Picturing this guy as like some sort of game hunter. Like he's just like, oh, but I want me a Voidbringer pelt. Gonna make armor out of it. Yeah.
Apparently it says he has a writ from the local High Lord to catch mink. So instead, imagine him wearing like just a big, really fancy mink coat.
Okay, so he's a fabulous game hunter.
Yeah. Oh, man. And then we cut to Adolin, who is hanging around with the horses and really missing one in particular. Also, there's like other livestock here, gum friends and hogs.
I feel like Gumfriend comes up a bit in these chapters. I'm just like, this is definitely not a word we've encountered before. What the hell?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, I agree.
Had we met a gum friend before now? Gumfrem. Hold on, let me see. No, I want to look back. I mean, we did meet one, like you said earlier in this section, where it talks about how gumfrems are a kind of chull-like beast that are harvested for their gem hearts, which are small but still useful.
Yeah, I'm just like, this seems like it could have come up early. This is another boost to their economy.
Yeah. Let's see. Was there any mention of Gumfrem in Words of Radiance? No, there was not. Way of Kings, Gumfrem. Nope, this is definitely the first time we hear about them.
Right. Follow-up question. Are they delicious?
It's a good question.
I mean, if they're taking out the gem heart, I assume that means you got leftover parts you got to do something with.
Yeah, right?
Rock would know.
I bet Rock, he's use them all sorts of ways.
I mean, that guy apparently makes Chell shit delicious, supposedly. So.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if we know it's delicious, but he didn't realize how strong the flavor would be. It was the problem. Next time, he'll use it more sparingly. So, yeah, they've got a lot of animals kind of housed up here wherever they could find, like, make good space for them. But the Blackthorn's horse gets a whole, like, field to himself. And he thinks about how there's some Reichadium are sometimes called the third shard, blade, plate, and mount. But the Reichadium choose their riders. Very, very like Harry Potter wands. But actually, he thinks, like, I guess that's kind of how it was with blades, too. Like, if blades were Spren chose who they bonded with. So kind of was the same thing.
So really, that means plate is the odd one out. Plate don't get no say.
Yeah. Does it? We don't know. We know where the swords come from now. We still don't know where plate comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows at this point? It's like just another thing we need to know more about.
Yep, mysteries. There's always another secret, as it were. And
Wrong planet.
He starts talking to Gallant, like, it's a little lonely, huh? I'm sorry about that. And he's thinking about Sureblood and how he lost him in that battle. But also Gallant, like, sniffs out the sugar lumps that he has, and he's like, oh, that's why you came running. Okay.
Yeah,
and then
Gallant knows what he's about.
when he says, oh, you only came over here because I had treats, the horse, like, gives him an offended look. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. They have rectangular pupils.
I'm waiting for Wit to come along and start translating for the horses now.
Yeah, he knows the language. Yeah, right?
Yep. Like, if anyone does, it's Wit.
Mm. And so Adolin's like, you know what? I thought maybe I'd come down here from time to time. And the horse snorts at him. He's like, no, not to ride you. Just, to hang out. Because Dalinar's not really riding into battle much these days. So Adolin has no horse. Gallant has no rider most of the time.
You want to just hang out? Go bowling?
I bet the horse could bowl.
Probably. Just nudge it with its muzzle.
And then Renarin shows up. And it's like, hey, what's up? And Aelin's like, I'm just checking on Gallant because, Dad's been so busy. And Renarin's like, hey, you could probably ask Shallan to draw Sureblood. I bet she'd be able to do that for you.
That was so sweet.
Right? Renarin is a very thoughtful person, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, lovely moment. And I imagine Adolin going back and just saying, hey, Shallan, would you mind doing me a favor and drawing my old horse who died? And Shallan would go, of course, honey, that sounds great. And Adolin goes, yeah, Renarin, it was Renarin's idea. And Shallan goes, well, now I'm not fucking doing it.
I don't know that she dislikes him that much.
Yeah, she go, who?
Yeah, that's
good call.
Oh, she'd be like, who? And then she's like, he's behind me, isn't he? So that's where he always ends up. And they look out, and Gallant is like prancing around, and he's like, he likes an audience. And Renarin says they don't fit, And Aelin's like, what? Don't fit? Rashadium have stone hooves, stronger than ordinary horses. They never need to be shod. And Aelin's like, why would that make them not fit? I'd say it actually makes them fit. Oh, you meant ordinary horses don't fit. And we get this moment where Aelin's thinking like, yeah, people have trouble following Renarin, but that's just because like he's so thoughtful and he'll say stuff that he's, after he's thought a long way through it in his head. But Aelin's his brother. He's kind of more used to it. But that's an interesting thought that like somehow ordinary horses don't fit as well into this world of stone as the Rashadium do. I guess that seems true.
Well, I mean, maybe like ordinary horses just didn't evolve into whatever the Rashadium did. They didn't evolve their surroundings or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe they're an introduced species.
Oh, they came from elsewhere.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you weren't here for like the first episode of the book where I can't remember how it came up, but I had the crazy theory that because one of the other planets in the Roshar system is referred to as the Void. So I'm like, oh, the Voidbringers must be from there. Like Odium threw them. He's the Voidbringer because he brought the Void in the form of the Voidbringers to
on your deck.
Roshar.
Good job.
Yeah. So maybe he brought the horses too.
Yeah, could happen.
Every time we say horses, is anyone else hearing Daryl Braithwaite's The Horses?
Oh, jeez.
No, I wasn't.
I think that's more of an Aussie thing.
Okay.
Every time we talk about horses, I'm like, don't kill him, Brandon. It's okay. He's not doing anything.
Yeah, that too.
It's very, very much an Aussie meme at an event. Any event with a large gathering of people, the DJ will turn on Horses by Daryl Braithwaite at some point, and everyone just starts singing along very drunkenly and loudly.
Okay.
So much so that Daryl Braithwaite is retouring now. I think he's from mostly the 80s, and he's back doing. We have the Red Hot Summer Tour down here and Day on the Green, so they go and play at different wineries and stuff, and just get a whole bunch of bands together, and it's quite fun. But yeah, his career's taken on a brand new life, I think.
Yeah, well, good for him.
Just became a whole meme.
It's like when Rick Astley came back because of Rickrolling.
You know what? It's pretty much exactly the same.
Yes, exactly like that.
Good on him. I'm not gonna fault him for it. So he says, Renarin says, Aelin, I gotta give you back the shard blade you won for me. It hurts to hold it. It always has, to be honest. I thought it was just me being strange. I love poor Renarin. He's just like, gets this super priceless sword, the kind of thing that he's probably wanted his whole life so that he can prove himself, and then it like hurts to use it, and he's like, is it like this for everybody? Am I just like messed up that it's not working for me? He must have been so tormented by this.
And he's also just gone, yeah, I don't need this. Here's one I prepared earlier.
Oh yeah, well now. And he says it does it to all of us. We can't use dead blades. It's not right. And Aelin's like, I mean, technically, you're supposed to choose who gets it. The right of bestowal is yours. It's like, yeah, I'd really rather you did that. I already gave it to the Ardens for safekeeping. And Aelin goes, I mean, that makes you unarmed. And Renarin like looks away. And Aelin instantly figures out, oh, you've already got a replacement, huh? Why didn't you tell us that you could create a radiant blade? And he's like, it just happened. Gliss wasn't certain he could do it, but we need more people to work the Oath Gates, so maybe it happened like right before this. He immediately went off to find Adelin. And then he summons his shard blade, thin with almost no crossguard. It had waving folds to the metal like it had been forged. Which that's interesting that it would impersonate like the look of a forged weapon.
That's what he's been surrounded with like his whole life. Maybe like that has something to do with it.
Yeah, like how he thinks of weapons could be affecting it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we know that like Syl formed a sword for Kaladin, then realized no, this isn't him, and went spear instead. So
yep, it's true. And Renarin talks about how like he just felt like he was starting to fit in with like Bridgeforan and being a shard bearer, and now everything is different again. He's the only one like that they know of, the only truth watcher, I guess. So he's like, how do I learn how to do this? And the whole chapter, it's been like kind of subtly dropping in that Adelin, his hand is still hurt from the stuff that happened in the last book. And then Renarin like takes Renarin's hand when Renarin's kind of feeling unsure about himself. And he's like, no, this is good. You're here to save us. And Renarin looks at him and there's a pulse of radiance. And for an instant, he saw himself perfected, a version of himself that was somehow complete and whole, the man that he could be, is what Adelin sees here.
He starts singing, you got the touch. You got the power.
The whole episode is going to be us like, what song fits this situation? And so
becomes Stormlight the musical.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Gearing up for the Cosmere musical. We'll have to retroactively do the others.
I mean, given how much Stormlight there's been so far, Stormlight musical will be a long musical. And that's not even, I mean, Wicked wasn't that long musical, but it's going to be 2 movies. So everything gets longer. So Renarin leaves, and after he's gone, Aelin realizes that his wrist has been completely healed, which we haven't seen a lot of examples of someone healing others with their radiant power. Lift did it, and Yim, the shoemaker, once upon a time did it, but I think those are the only people we've seen that could do that. A lot of them can heal themselves. We see that a lot, but the other way around, not as much. And then we have the Rift, which I don't know. Do you guys remember the previous mention of the Rift?
Was that when Kaladin had his vision of flying over the continent?
It was not. It was actually, I think it was in the last set of chapters, or maybe the first set of chapters you read. Anyway, so after Dalinar gets married, so maybe the first set of chapters, he's talking to Kadash, the guy who used to be one of his soldiers and then later became, an Ardent. And Kadash is talking about like, yeah, there's no reason to bring up like who you used to be. I appreciate the guy that you've become. And he remembers something. Kadash, bloodied, kneeling on the ground, retching until his stomach was empty. He'd left to become an Ardent the next day. And Dalinar goes, the Rift, Rathalis. So that is the previous reference we had to this city. 33 years ago is where this starts. And Dalinar, seems like has just gotten shard plate. And he's real happy about it. He's jumping back and forth like, yeah. He'd won it himself in combat. Yes, it was combat that involved kicking a man off a cliff, but still, he defeated a shard bearer. So, well, we skip that? That sounds like an interesting story.
So presumably he had to climb down there and get it?
Yeah, right? He's like, crap.
I guess he didn't learn anything in that situation, so it's not worth putting on page.
Maybe not. That's a fair possibility. And Sadeas has to be like, dude, calm down. Be patient. And Sadeas is wearing his golden plate. So we saw before that he has gold plate, but I guess he decided later on, like, I feel like it's painted red by the time we see him in Way of Kings. Maybe he just changes it up every now and then. And Gavilar's here. He's like, you can't calm him down, Sadius. The Kholin boys are chained axe hounds, and we smell blood. And so they're getting ready to attack this city. Dalinar doesn't have a shard blade, but he has a big old hammer, which we've seen them use in battle before.
I was going to say, that's the hammer you used to dig the toilet with.
It is. Yep. Probably not the same hammer, to be fair, but that's the sort of hammer he used for that. Because I think he bends it here or something.
We call it El Latrino.
That hammer actually was all messed up after he dug the latrine with it, so it probably was not used again after that. And Sadius is like, hey, have you thought about my suggestion, Dalinar? And Dalinar goes, no. If Gavilar commands me to, I'll marry. But Gavilar's like, I don't want to be involved. Don't bring me into this. And he thinks to himself, the only woman he'd ever wanted belonged to Dalinar. They'd married. They had a child now, a little girl. So we didn't see Gavilar in the previous flashback, I don't think. We just saw Sadius. So he's already married to Navani, and they have had Yasna, presumably, unless they had another little girl first. And Sadius is like, dude, if you get married, it could bring us like an alliance. Maybe a whole princedom that we wouldn't have to drive to the brink of collapse before they join us for once. So they've been fighting for 2 years, and they've got 4 of the 10 princedoms under their rule. And 2 of those were like Kholin and Sadius, so that's who they started with. And Gavilar says he thinks he can play them off one another. Their natural selfishness will lead them to stab each other in the back. So he's playing a little politics now. Let's see. So they're at a city in a chasm. So it's difficult to see from up here. It's named Rathalos, but also known as the Rift.
Everyone else is like, yeah, like the high ground is the place to be at. And these guys are just like, yeah, bring it.
Watch this. I mean, I think actually it's not terribly unusual in Roshar to take the low ground and get out of the storm, basically.
Oh, yeah, fair point.
And Dalinar's like, okay, so Bright Lord Tantalin is a shard bearer, right? So he's like, dude, we talked about this like 4 times. I was drunk. Tantalin, shard bearer? And he's only got a blade. And Dalinar's like, oh, it's mine. And Gavilar's like, yeah, if you get it first, maybe I should give it to Sadius. At least he listens in meetings. It is funny that apparently they conquered the whole country, all of these other princedoms, and Sadius never managed to get himself a blade. And so Sadius is like, okay, let's do this carefully. Remember the plan. And Dalinar's like, whatever, Leroy Jenkins. And he just heads in.
Jesus Christ, that's a reference.
Right, yeah.
And not inaccurate.
And rocks start falling because they've got catapults behind their walls that are chucking rocks at him as Dalinar like runs or rides across the ground. And he runs. And Gavilar's like, watch the ballistas. They got big ass ballistas launching enormous bolts of wood at them also. And Dalinar just like goes in there and starts wrecking things up because he has plate now.
The current day Dalinar would be absolutely mortified by past Dalinar.
Yeah, probably. So he just jumps up on top of the wall and starts knocking people down with his hammer. Just like swings his hammer and like groups of men just fly off the wall screaming. He's like, this is almost too easy. And over there, Sadius is like kicking a ballista over. Like plate is seriously, even without a sword, plate is apparently just OP as hell. And yeah, he starts just taking out men, taking out stuff. It says he feels like a conqueror, a glorious maelstrom of death, a god. And then Sadius is like, dude, you're supposed to take down the catapults. Oh yeah, right, catapults. Let's see. And then he tries to climb a rope ladder and it snaps because his plate weighs, a ton. He's like, oh right, yep, I'm dumb. Let's see. What else? We don't need to go into every single little detail of the fight, but as he rips through stuff, people are like, Blackthorn, run. The Blackthorn is here. Sadius has to give him his hammer because after Dalinar falls, he bends his hammer. And but still, he's taking stuff out. But he wants to find Thanalin, the guy with the sword. And yet, as he's going through, he notices that something is off. He goes, something's going on with this city. And Thaka of his elites like, what? And he's like, I don't know. Something strange going on. And it turns out that they have set traps for the shard bearers, essentially. And Dalinar starts thinking, like, there's 3 shard bearers. He knew that would be coming for him. He must have had a plan. and he spots a trap, and he says no, like stay back to his brother, and the enemy is forced to trigger the trap. They don't get Gavilar, but they get Sadeas, or not Sadeas, sorry, they get Dalinar, who they pull out some stuff, and because the whole thing is like built on wood inside of this rift, right? So they managed to make a large section of the stone and wood and stuff fall away with this trap, and Dalinar falls into the open air and then smashes into a building. Reminds me of Avengers with like the Hulk. He just smashes right through the building. The building did not stop him though, and he goes through another one. And yeah, his men are a bunch of his elites fell with him. They're all dead now. And without Shardplate, he would be too, but he manages to survive. But like the armor all down, his left arm is shattered, and he appeared to have broken a few fingers. And he gets up, and now he's just pissed. And arrows start falling down, like there's a bunch of archers shooting at him. And then he recognizes the guy leading the archers. Who puts chicken feathers in their helms? Really? Looks ridiculous. Well, Tantalin was a fine enough fellow. Dalinar had beaten him once at pawns, and Tantalin had paid the bet with 100 glowing bits of ruby, each dropped in a corked bottle of wine. So the guy had some style, but he wants that shard blade, so he's going to go after him. The arrows are still shooting at him, but he manages to get up there. Or no, as he's heading up that way, an arrow comes out of nowhere and drops one of the soldiers, and then another one, and he goes, Teleb, you storming miracle. So I don't think we ever learned that archer's name back in the first flashback, but I assume that it must be Teleb.
Yeah, I went back and checked, and we definitely did not learn his name in that chapter.
So see, there you go. We learned something new.
And he's doing his job, so...
Yeah. He eventually got on board.
And we know present-day Teleb, don't we? Like
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure we've met Teleb. I was going to go back and look.
It's like, I couldn't remember if he was one of the other like High Lords or if he's just one of Dalinar's ranking generals, but I know we've met him in present day.
Yeah, so he is one of the guys. Was a guy that worked for Dalinar, one of his head guys who actually wore Shardplate. Like he was one of the people that they gave Shardplate to when they won some. But I think, hold on, let me look him up in this book. Yeah, Teleb, his wife is Kalami, and we found out, I think, in the wedding scene that Kalami had lost her husband Teleb in the battle against the Voidbringers. So he's gone now.
Oh.
Given his introduction, like I'd forgotten that he died. Because like we must have seen it when it happened because he was I'm sure he was mentioned in the previous books.
Yeah.
But like given how he was introduced and we just casually drop his name here, I'm just like, oh, we must be gearing up for him to do something cool in this book, and apparently not. He dead.
Yeah. We did find out in the last book, during the big battle, like somebody comes back, he's like, High Prince Royan's army has been routed, Bright Lord Teleb has fallen. And he's like, oh, did they recover Teleb's shards? So, yeah, I guess we did know. We just didn't know his name. He was the same guy. He was the archer. He didn't do any archery in the other books. And so...
but hang on. So he doesn't have shard plates in the past sections here, but he gets shards, plural, by the present day. So he might still have a part to play in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Interesting. I will ruminate on this.
I think he's actually the first person when they win a set of plate and blade. I think he's the first person that they give it to when Adolin starts winning that stuff. But I could be remembering that wrong.
All right. Another idea in the waste paper basket.
Tantalin has 50 soldiers with him as Dalinar gets there, and he's got his shard blade, wide with a hooked tip, which as soon as you see that, you're like, oh, hey, no, yeah, Dalinar's going to end up with that. And Tantalin's like, you shouldn't have come here. We had no quarrel with you. He's like, yeah, you refused to submit to the king. And this guy's like, what gives you guys the right to decide that you're king? And Dalinar's like, I mean, the people of Alethkar deserve a king who's the strongest. If only there was a way to prove that. And they have a fight, and it's a little interesting little duel, given that one of them has a blade and one of them has plate. I don't think that's a situation we've seen much before. And Dalinar knows that normally in this, he would be expected to draw out the fight because the plate can let him last longer than a guy without plate. But also his plate is leaking from that fall that he took. So he actually needs to try to end this quickly before he freezes up. And they both actually get in some good shots in here. Like this guy, Tantalin's pretty good with his sword. But Dalinar also has a real big advantage with the armor. So like he can take a hit. The other guy cannot take one of his hits, essentially. And they get into, more political discussion. Like don't act like this is for the people. You loot and pillage and murder. And I was like, hey, you can't make war you can't civilize war. There's no way to make it pretty. And the other guy's like, yeah, but you don't have to pull sorrow behind you, crushing those you pass. You're a monster. And, fight. A whole platform comes crashing down. And Tantalin goes down, and his men grab him and drag him off. But the thrill is pushing Dalinar forward, despite the fact that he is not in good shape at this point. He's like, I gotta get that shard blade. It's mine. And they drag their Bright Lord through like a secret passage. There's like a piece of the wall that is actually a secret door. And they take him inside, and then some of the soldiers come back out to fight Dalinar. It does not go well for them. And he can't like use his arms very much anymore, but he's got legs with plate on them, so he manages to smash the door down easily enough. And he goes down this secret hallway, takes out some more soldiers, and there's Tantalin on the ground with blood all around him. A woman draped across him weeping, and a 6-year-old boy, maybe 7, holding his father's shard blade. And he says, you can't have my daddy. You can't. You.
It's so upsetting.
Daddy said we fight monsters, and with faith we will win. And that's the end of that. Yeah, it's tough to, yeah.
This is multi-layered. What the fuckery?
Mm.
And we cut straight to a few hours later. Dalinar's just sitting on the edge of the rift, swinging his legs and holding the shard blade. Yeah. And, everybody made it. Gavilar, Sadeas, not like we thought that they were going to end up dead, but it's all good for certain values of good. Sadeas is mad he didn't get the sword, but what can you do?
Turns out that's where Sadeas' grudge against Dalinar originated.
Yeah, maybe. And Gavilar is starting to think, now having a child makes him look at things differently. And, these fights, they're winning, but they're losing people all the time. So it's like, isn't there a better way to go about this? Like, these people, we won this fight, but they're not going to be cowed easily. They won't like that you killed their High Lord and his heir. They're going to resist us for years. And Dalinar's upset. Like, I lost half my elites today, my captain included. I got my own problems.
Compassion.
Right? Yeah. And Gavilar, he's like, we need discipline. We need bureaucracy, order, laws. We have to grow up. And Dalinar's like, what? It becomes soft? Like the High Lords we kill? That's why we started this, because they were all lazy, fat, and corrupt. And Gavilar's like, could you maybe try to be a little less foolhardy in future battles? And
Be a little less you, Dalinar.
Just a bit,
Like, we started this because, they're all fat, lazy, and corrupt. No, Dalinar, you joined up because you really just wanted to hit people.
Well, he's good at it. What are you going to do?
Oh, hells. Did you ever see Thank You for Smoking?
No, I don't think so.
There's a bit where Aaron Eckhart is a lobbyist for the cigarette company, and he's trying to bribe the old Marlboro man to stop suing them. And the Marlboro man's looking at us like, you seem like a nice guy. Why the hell are you working for these assholes? And the lobbyist just goes, well, I'm good at it. And Sam Elliott just goes, hell, I was good at killing people in the Korean War, but I didn't make it my whole career.
Dalinar did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we know as he got older, this changed, but Gavilar tells him, enjoy Oathbringer, you earned it. And Dalinar goes, Oathbringer? Yeah, your sword. Did you really pay no attention last night? That's Sunmaker's old sword. Well, I think we found out in a previous section that they're like related. Like
Sounds familiar.
Dalinar's like a descendant of the Sunmaker, Sadeas. So the last man to unite Alethkar. So you got the sword back in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Until it goes to Sadeas and then gets dropped out a window after Sadeas gets murdered. We don't know what happened to that, actually.
It was back in the family for about 7 seconds, and then Adolin chucked it.
That's true, yeah. And I like Gavilar's like, I'm going to make it so no one even thinks about that guy anymore. Just House Colin and Alethkar. And Dalinar rams the blade into the stone as Gavilar walks away and just thinks about a brave boy crying. And that's the end of our section. So, yeah.
Super fucked up.
Yeah, it is. So, I guess predicaments, y'all. Where are we going? What's going to happen? We're going to read 3 chapters for next time. Chapter 12, 13, and 14. And those chapters are called... Chapter 12 is Negotiations. Chapter 13 is Chaperone. And Chapter 14 is Squires Can't Capture. So, what do you guys think?
I don't know what any of the chapter title means, but that last one sounds interesting. I like it.
Hmm.
They're playing a game of capture the flag, and the youngins are not allowed to participate. Where we're going. So, okay, I think where the Dalinar flashbacks are going is he will keep being a reckless fool for quite a bit, and it won't be until after he marries his wife, whatever happens there. Maybe his recklessness gets her killed, and the grief of that is what causes him to seek out the Night Watcher, and that's where his change of personality into the Dalinar we like comes from. As a form of his penance or atonement or something, I don't know. Yeah, that's overall where I see Dalinar's history going. As for any other stuff, I'm not really sure, but I do have my fingers crossed that now that Renarin is returning his blade to Adolin, that maybe they finally fucking give it to Teft.
Somebody who deserves it, not that freaking Moash.
Yeah, he's still out there. I don't think we've seen the last of that fucker.
Mm-hmm. Hey, he's joining the diagram or something.
Yay. Maybe we'll get a Taravangian viewpoint. And was it Graves was the other dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Taravangian is like doing his thing, and Graves says, "Here is a new initiate to our cause," and Taravangian's like, "Kill it like the rest."
Good, we're running out of people to murder for death rattles.
Yeah, and Taravangian, and then it's like, well, you know what, Taravangian, you're a bad guy, and we don't like you. But on some level, you're okay. You got rid of Moash.
Oh man, there were hints that the other Bridgemen in Bridge 4 might be developing powers like Kaladin's. So if they're going to become Knights Radiant, maybe they can't use the sword either.
Well, we don't know which ones are developing powers. It just says like people in Bridge 4. We know the Lopen is one of them, but we don't know if that's all of them or
that's
not.
That's true. Yeah, we don't know.
Yep.
More information needed.
Yeah.
We haven't seen much of Bridge 4 in this book. Just like kind of in a couple of Dalinar bits. It's like, oh, and some Bridge 4 guys were here.
But we don't really have like boots on the ground among them. Like Kaladin was hanging out with them. They were all friends with him, so we saw that. But like Dalinar doesn't have that relationship. And Aelin's friendly with them, but he's not friends with them.
Yeah.
So we don't really have the personal viewpoint into them.
Maybe if Renarin got some viewpoint bits, then he's still in there.
Yeah. Well, I get the feeling that Brandon is very consciously not making Renarin that perspective character, so that like his reveals are a bit more mysterious.
Yeah, I mean it was kind of just like, oh my gosh, you have a blade. Like we didn't get any build up to it or anything really. It gets to surprise us out of nowhere. So there's something to be said for that, I guess.
Okay, where are we going? Chapter titles. I don't know. I feel like maybe chaperones. Like it could be sort of between Adel and Shallan, but I think it would be funnier if it was like a still reference being a chaperone. But yeah, I don't really know where we're going with the chapter titles. I sort of spoke already about the Voidbringers, and I think that's a way off. I agree with Dak's thoughts on Dalinar's past. I think it's going to turn out that he loved his wife more than what we think maybe he did, especially with the comments of, I won't marry, So he's obviously found someone to marry and have children with, and whether that was for the benefit of the kingdom or not, I don't know yet, but I assume we will learn that, somewhat soon. This was 33 years ago. Adolin's in his 20s, so that's going to come up fairly soon, I would imagine. I don't know. Otherwise, we're all just kind of seeing how we are going on our journey. I don't really have a lot today.
Yeah, I actually hadn't even thought about what the fact that Adolin is like in his 20s, maybe early 20s. So we only have maybe like 10 years to go before Dalinar starts. Although we don't know how long there's going to be between each flashback. The first one was 34 years ago, and this one was 33 years ago. So if we move at that rate, there could be a good number of flashback chapters. Yeah. So I guess we will have to see. But yeah, it's always interesting when we've known Dalinar for 2 books now, and I feel like I can probably safely say that he's a character that everyone of us like really has liked. And good guy Dalinar, we were worried that he was going to get killed off in like the first book, basically, because he was just too much that character who's the good guy. And now we get this very different one, and it's hard to like wrap your brain around sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to have a backstory and, you know, a redemption story. I think it probably means more because we like Dalinar so much now to go, yeah, look, you actually were quite awful. And I mean, look, we know that he was not a particularly top person even up until Gavilar died. I mean, he was still drinking and passed out when that happened. So, you know, presumably he wasn't the Dalinar that we know now. And we know kind of what his journey's been since then. So I'm expecting the flashbacks pretty much maybe to take us up to close to when Gavilar died, or maybe it'll take us up to the Night Watcher when he gets his memories erased. You know, I don't think the flashbacks are going to come super close to where we are now, because we do have recent history for Dalinar already, but he's going to have there's going to have to be something that happens that's really awful to him, aside from like his brother dying. I think it's going to be around where his wife dies. And from what we read before, it sounds like it was possibly his fault, or there was like I don't think he killed his wife, but I think he could have done more, or he thinks he could have done more, or it's like there's a guilt there, because you don't just go and erase the memories if it's something that you did, or maybe he did do something. I mean, depends on how long ago she died, really. But
right,
yeah, it's I don't think it's going to be a pleasant journey for Dalinar in terms of things that he does, but also things that happen to him.
None of our flashback journeys in these books have been super pleasant, so it's probably a safe bet.
Yeah.
But actually, you make a good point, because presumably we will see what happened to his wife. Presumably we will see, like, we know nothing about his wife at this point because he can't remember anything about her. So we may meet her before he does, kind of, in a way. Like, we'll learn all about her maybe, and then he still won't know anything about her.
Yeah, I mean, quite possibly, because we don't know her name. Maybe we'll find out her name at the very end.
It's yeah.
Oh.
It's like How I Met Your Mother at the very end. It's like, oh, hey, that's the mom. Okay.
Kids, that's how I met the Night Watcher.
But what you said about the guilt is also interesting to me, because it seems like a Dalinar thing. Even if like it wasn't his fault, even if he just thought he could have done more, that's kind of what he was dealing with Gavilar for the entire first book. Was like, he had this deep guilt about, like, he was drunk and passed out when his brother died. He could have maybe saved him.
Exactly. Yeah, even though it was like he wasn't involved, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So
it would be in character for him to feel that same way about his wife, potentially. I could see
definitely. That. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. We had a new patron this week, but we'll wait for Joe to come back for that. So we just got a couple of quick emails, and then we're gonna wrap stuff up. This is going to be a short episode. We have 2 short emails this week. So we've got, the first one is from Justin, one of the hosts of There's Always Another Podcast. Justin writes in, Animorphs mentioned is the title. And then it says, Animorphs being brought up means I'm legally obligated to respond. And I'll pause and say that is a subject that actually comes up a fair amount on There's Always Another Podcast. Is
legally obligated? Do they have a document?
Yeah, you know.
Is this permissible in court?
They love Animorphs over there. So
okay.
Justin says, no specific commentary, aside from the fact that if Dak really did start with number 22, he should know that was the third and final book in one of the most significant and darkest multi-book arcs.
Trust me, I remember. I read it. Yes, that was the end of the David story, I recall.
It's interesting to start on the third book of an arc, but once again, you wouldn't necessarily know that picking it up.
Yeah, look, I don't remember why I picked up that one specifically. I think it was just a bunch of people I knew were reading Animorphs, and that was the only one available from the primary school library. So I'm just like, well, I'll just start there, because Look, in my childhood, especially with like long-running cartoons, I tended to just like, I would start watching from whatever was on TV, because this was all right. If there are any kids born after the year 2000, this was in the pre-streaming days where when you watch TV, you had to just watch whatever episode came on.
Yep.
And if you'd missed everything leading up to it,
That's
well,
when I
stiff
was
shit.
young.
Yeah, back when pterodactyls stole my lunch money. Yeah, so like I did
We were
the
just having this
same.
conversation in the car yesterday. We're talking to our daughter about CDs, and then we're like, "Oh,
She doesn't know what those are.
no idea what a CD is."
But yeah, like that's what I did with like Dragon Ball Z and the 2000s Ninja Turtles cartoon, which is still the best Ninja Turtles cartoon. Sorry.
Nope, 89.
Nah. Anyway, but yeah, like I just started watching with whatever episode came on and just had to like, kind of piece together context based on like what happened in that episode and what came after. It's like I didn't get to see the original, like the episodes previous to that, until they did reruns much later on, and it was the same with Animorphs. Like I was like, all right, this is the only book available. I guess I'll read this one. Okay, they're throwing a lot at me right now.
There's a reason that a lot of 90s and earlier shows weren't big on like serialized storytelling, because that was the thing. Like you caught whatever was on TV when you had time to watch TV. So if it had been like a Lost where you had to watch the episodes to know, even if you did watch the episodes, you might have no idea what the hell was going on. But it helped to have watched the previous episodes. You would be just lost if you missed an episode or two. Well, you see what I did. Anyway, VCRs helped.
Yeah, home media, like that was it. It's like if you pick it up halfway through a season, it's like, well, I guess you're buying the VHS. That's another thing you kids won't know about.
Right.
But I remember Dragon Ball Z specifically because like I picked that up. Like the first episodes of that I watched was after Ginyu, but before Frieza in that little area.
Yeah.
I spent like most of the Frieza fights going, I don't know who Goku is, but they keep coming back to this guy in the tank.
The guy's sitting there.
What fucked him up?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I remember I got really into Star Trek. Like the first Star Trek I saw was Star Trek: The Next Generation in like '95 when it came on, just like right after I got out of school on one of the networks, and I learned how to program a VCR so that it would record that episode every day. And I had my whole like VHS library of all of the episodes of this show that I had recorded. Like that was the way that you, if you didn't want to miss it, then you had to, figure out how to get it.
Yep. Oh God, I remember pissing off
Kids
my
these
mum.
days will never understand.
Nope.
No. I pissed off my mum when I was a kid because I did the same thing. I programmed the VCR to record the season finale of Digimon.
Nice.
Because like all the other episodes had run in the school holidays, so I was able to watch them. But that one was the first day back at school, so I set the VCR up to record it on that day. And Mum was like, "What do you mean I can't touch the VCR? You're 10."
My mom was not good at technology, really. And so it was like the other way around, where she'd be like, when you come home, hit record. Like, she was at work. I'd come home. She's like, hit record at this time because I don't want to miss like the telenovela or whatever that I want to watch. And so I was like, you can set it to record, right? Like, good times. But yeah, streaming really made it a whole different world for that sort for watching TV in particular.
Yep.
Good. My kids know what DVDs are because I have a couple of DVD players in the car for long car trips put on the back of the seats so they can watch things.
You can pry my giant DVD collection out of my cold, dead hands.
Yes, I still have hundreds of DVDs, but we had to downsize, not get rid of the DVDs, but get rid of the boxes, and we bought like slip covers to put all of them in so that they didn't take up like 9 bookshelves worth of space. So now they're alphabetized and sorted and in alphabet labeled boxes for the most part.
Ugh, that's scary.
It works.
Jack didn't realize this episode of the Sanderlanche was also a horror.
I miss having, like the big thing of DVDs, but it took up a whole lot of room.
It does. Like that. It becomes a feature of the room, something to admire.
It's true. We didn't have room for that anymore. Although I still do have one shelf with like all the DVDs that are either, because to put them in slipcases, I had to take, the little paper out so that you knew what was in each little slipcase. You got to put the paper label from the box into there. And so some of them didn't have that kind of labels, or some of them had too many discs that went with one label to fit in a slipcase thingy. So I still have one shelf, mostly of like seasons of TV, that's just like one bookshelf that sits in the side of the room, or it has some of the really cool looking ones, like my box set of all the Next Generation Blu-rays, or the Friends box set, or the Buffy the Vampire Slayer box set, or whatever. Good times.
Yeah. Like the last few years, I've sort of been on the, okay, what are the movies that I still want to have on physical media so that I can keep watching them when they are inevitably not on any streaming service I have.
Yep.
And I'm just like, these movies are good. I want to be able to watch them again. Like, I don't want to seek alternative, less than legal methods for this, because it's a movie that I think deserves to be on my shelf.
Yeah. I've had the same thing where it's like, even movies that I own, since they're in boxes now. So I'm just like, let's see if it's streaming. No, not on any streaming service. Great. Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to like dig it out. That's why you don't get rid of them. Like,
nope.
They can just take things away. Like they took away that Simpsons episode with Michael Jackson. Like, just took it off all streaming services. If you bought it on like Amazon, you didn't own it anymore. So I'm like, they're not gonna come take my DVDs.
Well, there was some movie like that Disney made a couple of years ago. It looked like a fun little kids sci-fi movie called Crater. I'm like, oh, that looks like a lot of fun. I'll watch that. They took it away. It's not on Disney Plus, but it's still owned by Disney, so they're just not releasing it anywhere anymore. I'm like, so that movie will just never see the light of day again. I'm like, oh, I wanted to watch that.
Yeah, like that. Why? You know?
Yeah, like, what do you guys have to lose by putting it up there?
Maybe it's one of those tax things. I don't know. It's like the way that HBO or Warner Brothers just deleted
Batgirl and Wile E. Coyote.
Apparently they actually recently sold the rights to the Wile E. Coyote versus Acme or whatever. It looks like it will get released now.
Okay, well, that's cool. I mean, they just released another Looney Tunes movie, and apparently it's really good.
I don't know that I'd call it really good. It was definitely like reminiscent of classic Looney Tunes for sure. I was like, this feels like old school Looney Tunes.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was just like Daffy Duck and Porky Pig. That felt a little strange to me, that I'm like, you have so many characters. Why did we go with just these two Looney Tunes? But, they were telling an interesting story.
Maybe they just didn't want to overstuff the movie. Like,
yeah, maybe.
You cram in too many characters, they all need to get their moment to shine.
Yeah, that's a problem with like Space Jam and stuff, where it's just like everybody needs to have a one-liner or whatever, and then But I wouldn't mind if Looney Tunes made a comeback.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, we've gone real off the rails on that. Thank you for your email, Justin, about Animorphs.
What a ride that was.
Yeah. We have one other email from Amanda Truthwatcher, who's written us before. The title is Jam Addict. Hello, Sanderlanche team. My husband saw this attachment on Facebook, so I had to share it with you. Special shout out to Joe because he has a corgi. Please disregard if someone already sent this to you. I'm still playing catch up after the last baby break when I started again at the beginning. Thank you, as always, for all you do, Wuzzing to the time of next. So I'll show you I'll share with you guys the picture that Amanda sent. If I can get it. I don't want to just look at it. I would like to download this image, please. There it is. So it's a picture of a corgi who likes jam. So maybe Joe will enjoy this. Where is it? There we go.
Oh my God.
And for those of you at home, it says somebody found this corgi puppy laid out in a shop surrounded by how do you say that? Claret wine.
Don't know.
Oh my goodness.
They thought he'd been attacked and was hurt and bleeding. It turns out he'd eaten an entire jar of jam and passed out on the floor in a sugar crash. It's adorable.
Sweet Jesus.
Oh, puppy had a good time. Joe couldn't make it to the record, but he was able to put into the chat after I posted that picture. Yeah, I've seen that picture. He's like working, but had time to pull out the Facebook chat real quick. That's great. Thank you, Amanda. That was a great, fun little image. I had not seen it before. So those are our emails for today. So if you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky and Patreon, where I'm still posting once a week my reactions to Wind and Truth as I read them for the first time. And it's a trip to be living this book and that book at the same time. we get into recording this episode, and I've just listened to myself talk about Wind and Truth as I was editing one of those. So I'm just like, yeah, don't say anything from Wind and Truth while we're talking in here. That would be a bad spoiler. I think I've made it. So you can check out our Patreon if you're interested in that. If you sign up for the Patreon, Joe will assign you a faring power. If you leave us a 5-star review, send us an email about it, and Joe will assign you a misting power. So you can be a Twinborn if you do both of those things. And someday maybe we will develop another thing for Knights Radiant. Although, I don't know, can you really have Scadrial powers and Roshar powers at the same time? I don't think we've ever seen something like that.
I don't know. It depends. Like we've seen Vasher on Roshar. Can you have Nalthus and Roshar powers at the same time?
Yeah, is Vasher going to become a Radiant? That would be a thing.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like the people that have read Wind and Truth might be going, I see what you did there, Data.
I refuse to confirm or deny any such thing.
Man, it was so crazy when Teft became a Mistborn.
That would be crazy, like, for real. I feel like it would have to be easier to go the other way around, right? Like, because Mistborn is something you're born with. So you come over from the other planet, you meet a spren, you make friends.
There's that missing orb of Lerasium. Teft had it all along. And then Rock starts drawing Aeons and shit just gets crazy.
You would not expect that for sure. That would be a twist.
Then Sadius comes back from the dead with the bird and said, the bird saw my death and I hid in the shadows.
The bird saw.
Wow.
Oh my god. Now every bird that shows up in Stormlight, everyone's going to be like, wait, is that one of those AVR? Every time.
To be fair, everyone on Roshar just sees any kind of bird and goes, is this a chicken?
Is this a chicken? Yeah, that's a good point. Fair.
Like, why is the chicken showing me how I die?
The worst chicken ever.
Kill it.
Or the best.
Oh, we're afraid of chickens.
There are no chickens. They're all just AVRs.
That would be great. Oh, okay.
The horror movie of That's Not a Chicken.
It's like Obi-Wan's just like, that's no chicken. That's a death-seeing bird.
But the death-seeing birds are useful. It's fine. Sadius might be alive today if he had an AVR that could foretell his death, as we've just discussed. Maybe he is secretly alive somehow. Aeblin stabbed him in the eye. It seems real unlikely. What if Sadius was a Knight Radiant? Like he started healing after getting stabbed in the eye.
Got stabbed in the eye. Now the only way he can see anything is with a chicken.
Ooh.
No. He's not a Radiant, but his wife is, and when she gets the body, she heals him like Renarin healed Aeblin.
What kind of spren would want to hang out with Sadius or his wife? They're mean.
I don't know. Like whatever spren it was that turned the Parshendi into Stormform.
Oh, yeah, fair. Okay.
Those guys seem like dicks.
Yeah, right. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for emailing. Patrons, thank you guys. Our Discord folks. It's always fun hanging out in the Discord, chatting with y'all. Thank you, everyone who just shows up every week and listens to us talk about Animorphs and Bugs Bunny and stuff for some reason. We appreciate you. Remember, we're going to do 3 chapters for next time, chapters 12, 13, and 14. So if you're following along, read those. That's what we're going to read anyway. So it'll be hard to follow us if you read different ones. Music by Miracle of Sound. And Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Vasher. Crab at thee.
Coronas wide, supernovas die, fractured in the fateful fall of man. Feel the heart raging of a strength unseen. Unity will bring the upper hand. So look to the break of dawn.